Okay, so picture this. Imagine a small child. Let's say he's 3 years old. He's sitting on the carpet, absolutely fascinated by something he's holding in his sticky little hand.
Right, that kind of laser focus they get.
Exactly. Total fixation. And
Yeah.
what he's holding is, well, it's a plastic bead. You know the kind I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, the bright orange or green ones?
The ones with that little seam down the middle where the plastic was molded together. To us, it's garbage. It's nothing. But to this kid,
It's the whole world. It's treasure.
it is the hope diamond. He
Huh.
is gripping it tight. He's guarding it with his life. And if you try to take it from him,
You're going to have a bad time. World War III is about to break out in the living room. There will be tears.
for sure. But then let's
Yep.
change the scenario. Imagine a master jeweler walks into the room. He kneels down next to the child, gets right on his level, and he opens a little velvet box.
Okay.
And inside is a real diamond. I'm talking flawless, decolored, just catching the light, throwing these little rainbows all over the ceiling. It's worth millions.
Right. An object of undeniable, overwhelming value.
And he offers a trade, the diamond for the plastic bead.
It's not really a choice at that point, is it?
That's the thing. The child doesn't need to be coerced. You don't need to sit him down and explain, market dynamics or the 4 C's of diamond quality.
You don't need to threaten him.
Not at all. The moment he sees the diamond, and I mean really sees it, the sparkle, the depth, the reality of it, he drops the bead. He doesn't even think about it. He might even laugh at the bead. The value of the diamond makes the plastic totally irrelevant, instantly.
That is a perfect image to start with. It cuts right to the heart of the human condition, really.
And that is the core metaphor for what we are unpacking today. We are doing a deep dive into the psychology of spiritual discipline. We're looking at a lecture that comments on a classical text, one that's all about the methodology of seekers.
Right. A roadmap.
A roadmap. And the central argument is basically this. The reason we are so obsessed with our distractions, our bad habits, our anxieties, our material obsessions, our plastic beads, is simply because we haven't actually seen the diamond yet.
And just to be clear for everyone listening, when we say diamond in this context, we aren't talking about some metaphorical better life or, success in the worldly sense.
Yeah.
We're talking about the ultimate spiritual reality, the hereafter, the presence of the divine.
Yeah.
That's the diamond.
Exactly. So look, I know what some of you might be thinking, oh great, another talk about rules, do this, don't do that. But that's not what the source material is about at all.
Not at all. It's much deeper.
We're looking at a roadmap for waking up. This is for anyone who feels like they are, sleepwalking through life, distracted by all these shiny plastic things, your phone, your status, your bank account, and you want to gain control over your own soul. We have a massive stack of notes here, and we've done some intense work to strip away the jargon and just get to the core meaning.
It is a heavy topic, I won't lie. It's not light reading,
Yeah.
but it's absolutely essential. This material isn't just about behavior modification. It's not a list of how to be a nice person.
Right.
It's about a transformation of vision. It's about eye surgery for the soul.
Eye surgery for the soul. I like that. So let's set the stage. We have the source material, which is essentially a guide for someone trying to travel from a state of heedlessness, which is basically being asleep at the wheel of your life.
To a state of presence, being awake.
So what is the big headline here? What's the thesis statement of this whole body of work?
The headline is a premise that might sound, a little radical, maybe even a little offensive to our modern sensibilities about choice and free will.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
The source states, whoever witnesses the hereafter with their heart as a certainty becomes, by necessity, a seeker of it.
By necessity. That's a strong phrase. That's
Yeah.
a very strong phrase.
It's the key phrase, necessity. It implies that the problem most people face, the struggle to be good, the struggle to avoid bad, the constant relapse into habits we hate, it isn't actually a problem of willpower.
Wait, okay, hold on.
It's not that you are weak. It's not that you lack discipline, the source argues. It's that you are blind.
Okay, hang on. Let's unpack that. Because usually when I fail to stick to a good habit, say, I promised myself I wouldn't doom scroll before bed, and then, there I am at 1 a.m. scrolling away, I blame my willpower.
Of course.
I say, oh, I'm just weak, I have no self-control. You're saying the source argues it's not a muscle problem, it's an eye problem.
Precisely. Go back to the child and the bead. Did the child need willpower to drop the bead when the diamond appeared? Did he have to grit his teeth and say, gosh, I really want this plastic bead, but I should take the diamond?
No, not at all. It was a reflex. It was instinctual. The choice was obvious.
It wasn't even a choice. It was a necessary reaction to seeing a greater value. The source argues that if you truly saw, with the eye of your heart, the reality of what comes after this life,
Mm.
the rewards, the punishments, the sheer mind-bending scale of eternity, you wouldn't be able to resist chasing it.
So it would be a
Necessary.
necessary reaction. Think about touching a hot stove. Do you need willpower to pull your hand away?
No, my body does it before my brain even fully processes the pain. It's a withdrawal reflex.
Because you know the reality of the fire. You have certainty about the heat. You don't need someone to give you a lecture on thermodynamics to know it will burn you.
Right.
The source is saying that if we had that same level of certainty about spiritual reality, about the fire of the next life or the paradise that's waiting, our reaction to sin would be just as physical. We would recoil from it. We'd pull our hands away.
So if we are chasing the world, if we are chasing money or status or just wasting our time, it's because we don't truly believe in the alternative. Or I guess we don't believe in it enough. It's because we don't see the alternative. And there is a massive distinction the source makes between intellectual knowledge.
Okay.
So, knowing a jewel exists somewhere out there in the world and witnessing, actually seeing it in the velvet box right in front of you, witnessing changes everything.
So I can read a book about God, but that's not the same as witnessing.
Not at all.
Oh.
And the lecture notes that when it comes to the afterlife, humanity is really split into two groups, those heading to paradise and those heading to the fire. And there's no third option.
No Switzerland in the afterlife. You can't just be a neutral party and opt out.
There's no neutral ground. And the source argues that the reason we scramble after this material world, why we're so obsessed with our careers and our possessions, is because we are not people of witnessing. We are, for all intents and purposes, blind to the spiritual reality.
And if we weren't?
If we saw the fire, we would flee. If we saw the garden, we would run toward it with everything we have. The fact that we are just standing still or running in these little circles chasing our own tails, it proves we aren't seeing anything. We're just holding the plastic bead because it's the only thing in our field of vision.
That's a terrifying thought, actually. It sort of implies that most of us are living in a state of delusion. We think the plastic is the diamond.
In a way, yes. We've mistaken the map for the territory.
There's a really striking quote in the notes where the expert in the lecture cites a tradition from the prophet. It says that to a person of spiritual sight, this world is like a prison, even if they are the wealthiest person on earth.
Yes.
And that seems, well, it seems extreme. I mean, come on. If I'm a billionaire on a yacht in the Mediterranean, I'm eating grapes, I'm watching the sunset, that does not feel like a prison. That feels like I've won the game.
It feels like winning to us because we are looking at the bead. Our whole frame of reference is the bead. But think about it from the perspective of the diamond. Why a prison? Because even the best parts of this life, the yacht, the money, the grapes, the sunset, they are all finite. They all fade. They are all flawed. And most importantly, they act as a barrier to the ultimate reality. They keep you occupied.
So the yacht it's a cage. A really nice cage, but still a cage.
If you knew what was waiting for you, if you saw the diamond of the divine presence, then anything that keeps you away from it, even for a moment, feels like a cage. A golden cage is still a cage. It's still keeping you from true freedom.
I see. So the billionaire is happy only because he has never seen the outside of the prison. He thinks his beautiful cell is the whole world.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And the source says that once the jewel is seen, the person becomes almost disgusted by the bead. They look back and realize they were being tricked. Tricked by their own senses, by their own desires. They realize they were settling for a fraction of a penny when they could have had the entire kingdom. It's a feeling of being shortchanged by your own ignorance.
So when we see people who are incredibly devout, people who give up everything for their faith, monks, ascetics, people who just walk away from high-paying careers to go do service work, we tend to think, wow, they're making such a huge sacrifice. That must be so hard.
Right. We see it as a loss.
But according to this logic,
they aren't making a sacrifice at all. That's the twist. They just made a better trade. They're the ones who saw the diamond. They dropped the plastic to pick up the diamond. To them, we are the ones making the bad deal.
Wow.
They look at us, clutching our little plastic beads, our job titles, our social media followers, and they think, why are they holding on to that trash so tightly?
That completely flips the script on how we view religious discipline.
Right.
It's not about suffering or self-denial. It's about upgrading. It's just smart investing.
It's the smartest investment you can make.
Mm.
And there is a specific case study in the text that I found really, really powerful. It's about a companion of the prophet named Umar.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about him. This is a famous figure in history known for being tough, very intense.
Very intense, yes. But this story isn't about his strength. It's about his vision. Umar made a statement that is just echoed through the centuries. He said, and I'm paraphrasing slightly, "If the doors of the sky were opened and I saw paradise and hellfire with my own two eyes, my certainty would not increase."
Wow. Take a second and just think about that. My certainty would not increase.
Yeah.
That is a staggering level of confidence. I don't know if I can even imagine that.
It's more than confidence. It's a description of his internal state. He is saying, I already see it. His internal spiritual vision, the eye of his heart, was so acute, so vivid, that seeing it with his physical eyes wouldn't add any new data to the equation.
It would be redundant.
It would be redundant.
Yeah.
He was already living in that reality while walking on this earth.
So for a guy like Umar, the plastic bead of the world had absolutely no power over him. If you offered him a bribe or you threatened him with death or you tried to seduce him with luxury, it just wouldn't work.
It wouldn't even register. It'd be like trying to bribe a billionaire with a handful of dirt. It's not a temptation because it has no perceived value to him. He was immune to the seduction of the material world because he was constantly looking at the diamond.
Which is just incredible.
And the source makes a crucial point here. We can't see the hereafter with our physical eyes right now. That door is closed to us until we die. So the only solution, the only path forward, is to ask the divine to open the eye of the heart, to give us that vision through insight, not through eyesight.
Okay, so that's the diagnosis. We are spiritually blind, or at least very, very nearsighted. We are clutching the plastic bead because we can't see the diamond. But let's say a listener is hearing this and thinking, okay, I get it. I'm tired of the bead. I want the diamond. I want to wake up. What do they actually do? Where do you start? Is it just, pray more?
No, it's much more structured than that. This is where we shift from the why to the how. We move from philosophy to methodology. The source outlines a very specific roadmap. It's not vague at all. It breaks it down into 4 prerequisites for the journey.
A 4-step plan.
It's almost like a survival guide for the soul.
I love a good list. Let's break them down. So the source says we have a condition, an anchor, a fortress, and functions.
Right. Let's start with the first one, the condition.
Now, the text uses legal language here, right, which I
Right.
found interesting. It's not just a suggestion, it's a condition, like in a contract.
Yes, exactly. And that's intentional. In legal terms, a condition is something that, if it is missing, the whole thing is invalid. It doesn't count.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Like in many religious traditions, hygiene or ritual washing is a condition for prayer. If you don't perform the washing, the prayer doesn't count. You can stand there and recite the most beautiful poetry, you can cry, you can mean it with all your heart, but if you didn't fulfill the condition of washing legally, it's void
So it's a non-negotiable prerequisite.
and non-negotiable.
So what is the precondition for this spiritual journey? What is the thing we must have before we can even take the first step?
Lifting the veil.
Yeah.
And specifically what that means is repentance and abandoning sin.
Lifting the veil. Okay, that sounds poetic, but let's get gritty. What does that look like on a Tuesday afternoon?
It goes right back to the vision problem. Why can't we see the diamond?
Yeah.
Because there is a curtain, a veil, between our heart and the divine. The source argues that sin acts as a thickening agent for that veil.
So it makes the curtain heavier.
Every time we act against our conscience, every time we indulge in something corrupt, whether it's cheating on our taxes, lying to a spouse, looking at things we shouldn't look at, gossiping about a coworker, we're adding another layer of grime to the window.
Okay, so if I'm trying to become a seeker, I can't just start adding meditation or reading scripture on top of a lifestyle that is, well, that's full of garbage.
No, and this is where so many people get stuck. They think, I'll keep my bad habits, I'll keep my plastic beads, but I'll just add some spiritual stuff on the side as a supplement.
Right, like it's a vitamin you can take.
Exactly. And the expert in the source is very blunt about this. He says, if you are drowning in bad actions, but you're expecting spiritual enlightenment, you are joking. You are playing games with yourself. It's a fantasy.
It's like trying to run a marathon while shooting yourself in the foot at every single mile marker. It's self-sabotage.
Or trying to gaze at the stars while burying your head in the mud. It doesn't matter how beautiful the stars are. You have to lift your head first. You have to clean the window. So the first step, before any fancy spiritual practices, before you buy the prayer beads or the special books, is simply stop doing the bad stuff.
Just stop.
Repent. Clear the slate. You have to remove the negative before you can add the positive.
It sounds so simple when you say it like that, but let's be honest, that's probably the hardest part for most people, just stopping.
Yeah.
It requires admitting that what you've been doing is actually the problem.
Mm.
And we love our problems. We get comfortable with them. We love our little sins.
We do. They are our comforts, our go-to distractions.
Yeah.
But the Source emphasizes that this is a condition, meaning you can't skip it. You can't hack your way around this. The spiritual map doesn't work that way. If the window is covered in mud, no amount of staring is going to let you see the sun. You have to wash the window.
Okay, so that's step one. It's a big one. Let's assume we are working on that. We are trying to lift the veil. We've admitted we have a problem, and we're trying to stop. What comes next? The roadmap mentions an anchor.
This is the second prerequisite. The Source has a specific term for it, which we can translate as the one to hold on to or the anchor. This refers to the guide.
A teacher,
Hmm.
a mentor. Now, I have to push back here a little bit because this is a point of resistance for a lot of modern people. We live in the age of information. I can Google anything. I can download 1,000 lectures from 1,000 different teachers. I can read all the classical texts in PDF format. Why do I need a human being? Why can't I just be my own guide?
That is the classic modern question, isn't it? Why do I need an expert? The Source compares the spiritual path to a physical journey through a dangerous, unknown landscape.
Okay.
Imagine you're trying to cross a vast mountain range you've never seen before. It's filled with hidden cliffs, there are wild animals, there are sudden violent storms.
I'm trying to do it with a map I just printed off the internet.
Exactly, and not just without a guide. The Source warns that this road is filled with thieves and confusing crossroads.
Thieves, what are they stealing?
It's a metaphor for devils, both literal spiritual entities and also human influences that want to hijack the traveler. They want to lead you astray.
I see.
And the expert warns that these thieves are clever. They don't always look like bad guys with masks on. Sometimes they dress up bad ideas as religious truth. It might come to you and say, hey, come down this path. This is the real shortcut to enlightenment. But really, it's a path that leads right off a cliff.
Or they appeal to your ego.
That's a huge one. The thief of pride. They come and whisper, you're doing great. Look how spiritual you are. You're so much better than those other people. And boom, you're trapped.
Ah, I see. So the thief isn't trying to steal your wallet. He's trying to steal your progress, your humility.
Correct. And you need a guide who knows the terrain, who's walked the path, to look at you and say, don't listen to him. That's a trap. Keep walking. But the Source is very specific about the qualifications of this guide. It's not just anyone who read a book or has a popular YouTube channel.
Right, because let's be honest, there are a lot of charlatans out there.
Absolutely. The Source says it is not enough for the guide to just know the legal rules, the right versus wrong, the permissible versus forbidden.
So not just a lawyer. You don't need a spiritual lawyer.
Correct. You don't need a lawyer on the mountain. You need a doctor. The guide must be a doctor of the heart. They need to be a diagnostician. They need to understand spiritual diseases.
What do you mean by that?
They need to be able to look at you, listen to you, and say, okay, your problem isn't that you don't know the rules. You know the rules perfectly well. Your problem is arrogance. Or your problem is a deep-seated envy. Or your problem is that you are too hard on yourself and it's making you bitter and self-righteous. And then they prescribe the specific cure for your disease.
That's a huge distinction. A lawyer tells you what the law is, impersonally. A doctor tells you what you specifically need for your specific ailment.
Yes, because without that objective third party, we are so good at lying to ourselves. We are the best lawyers for our own defense. We will justify our detours. We will say, oh, I'm not being arrogant. I'm just being confident. A real guide says, no, that's arrogance. Here is the medicine you need to take.
It's like having a personal trainer versus just wandering around the gym by yourself. The trainer sees your form is off, you think you're doing great, but you're about to pull a muscle.
It's the exact same principle. And in the spiritual life, pulling a muscle can mean losing years of progress or falling into a state of despair or becoming inflated with pride. You need the anchor to hold you steady.
Okay, so we have the condition, which is cleaning the window, and we have the anchor, which is the guide. Now we move to the third prerequisite, and this is where, as I said before, the rubber really hits the road. This is the fortress.
A fortress. I love this imagery because in the Source, this is all about environment design. We tend to think spirituality is all in our head, it's all about belief. But the Source argues you can't just rely on your internal willpower. You need to build a defensive structure around your soul. You need walls.
And this fortress has 4 walls. Let's list them and then break them down because some of these are going to be a hard sell for a lot of our listeners, myself included.
Okay, the 4 walls are solitude, silence, hunger, and sleeplessness. Or maybe let's call it vigilance. That sounds a bit better.
Okay, yeah. Solitude, silence, hunger, vigilance. That sounds like a punishment block in a prison movie. It sounds miserable. Why on earth are these the keys to spiritual happiness? Let's start with solitude. Humans are social animals. Are we supposed to become hermits? Move to a cave?
No, not at all. Solitude here doesn't mean moving to a cave and never speaking to another human being again. It means strategically withdrawing from the noise of the crowd to create space for reflection.
So it's about quality, not quantity, of social interaction.
It's about breaking the feedback loop of society. The expert and the source explains the why. You cannot reflect on your own flaws while you are scrolling social media. You can't do it while you're sitting in a crowded room listening to gossip and nonsense.
It's about the signal-to-noise ratio, isn't it?
Exactly. If your life is constant input, podcasts, music, news, gossip, texts, emails, notifications, you never have time for output. You never process anything. You're just a receptacle for other people's noise.
That feels very true to modern life.
So the source suggests a specific practice, a solitude routine. It's a daily audit. You sit alone, no phone, no people, just you and the silence. And you review the day's sins. You look at your character flaws. You ask yourself, what did I do today that kept me from the diamond? What bead was I chasing? And how do I stop doing it tomorrow?
That's terrifying. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, sitting alone with your own flaws, most of us would do anything to avoid that. That's why we have Netflix. That's why we listen to podcasts, to drown out that inner voice that says, hey, you were kind of a jerk today.
That is exactly why the plastic bead is so popular. It distracts us from that audit. But the audit is the only way you grow. You can't fix a budget if you never look at your bank account because it makes you anxious. You have to look. The fortress of solitude gives you the safety and the quiet to actually look.
And there was a very practical example in the source that really brought this home for me. It was a Q&A about a wedding. And I want to role play this a bit because it felt so real, so applicable.
Right. This shows that solitude isn't just about sitting in a room by yourself. It's about selective participation in the world.
So the scenario is this. A person asks the sheikh, my brother is getting married. It's a huge family event. Everyone will be there. But I know the wedding will have mixed dancing, alcohol, maybe some sketchy behavior things that go directly against my spiritual values. Do I have to go?
Now, most people today, most advice columns would say, it's family. Of course you have to go. Just go for an hour, sit in the corner, don't drink.
Right, and the guilt trip would be massive. You think you're better than us now. You won't even come to your own brother's wedding.
Exactly. The social pressure is immense. But the answer from the source was strict. It was uncompromising. The answer was, you do not go. You congratulate them beforehand, you give a beautiful gift, you show them love, you visit them the next day. But you do not enter that environment.
That's hard. That's drawing a real line in the sand with your own family.
It is hard. But the lesson is about the fortress. If you step out of your fortress into an environment that actively damages the heart, an environment where the plastic beads are being celebrated and the diamond is being mocked or ignored, you are compromising your vision. You are voluntarily clouding the window again after you just spent time cleaning it.
It's about protecting the asset. If your heart is the most valuable thing you have, if it's the only thing that can see the diamond, you don't take it into a bar fight. You don't take it into a toxic environment just to be polite.
Precisely. And the intention isn't about judging them. It's about protecting you. It's spiritual self-preservation.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's talk about the second wall. Silence. Controlling the tongue. This seems closely tied to solitude.
It is. They're sister concepts. The source implies that most of our sins, when you really trace them back, come from our mouths. Think about it. Gossip, lying, showing off, arguing just to win, complaining, backbiting, slander. The tongue is the wildest beast in the whole zoo.
It does the most damage with the least effort.
For sure. And in the age of X and social media, the tongue has gone digital, and it's on steroids. We are constantly broadcasting. Here is my half-baked opinion on politics. Here is my angry review of this movie. Here's my complaint about the airline. Exactly. It's just a torrent of unfiltered speech. And the source says, stop, build a wall. Silence is a wall. If you build a wall of silence, you starve those sins. You can't gossip if you don't speak. You can't lie if you're silent. It conserves an immense amount of spiritual energy. So practically this means what? Just being the quiet guy at the party who never says anything. It means speaking only when necessary and beneficial. It means running a filter. Before you speak, you think, does this sentence improve the silence? If the answer is no, you keep it in. It creates a gravitas, a certain weightiness to the personality. When you know that when someone speaks, it's because they actually have something to say.
Okay, now the third wall. This is the one I have beef with. Hunger.
I knew you'd struggle with this one.
Look, I'm a foodie. I enjoy a good meal. It's one of life's great pleasures. And now the source is saying hunger is a prerequisite for spiritual growth. Is this telling us to starve ourselves? Because that sounds unhealthy, and frankly, it sounds unsustainable.
It's not starvation. And that's a critical point. It's not about malnutrition or developing an eating disorder. It is about not being constantly full. It's about breaking the addiction to satiety, to that feeling of being stuffed.
What is the spiritual problem with being full? If I eat a big burger and I'm happy and content, what's the issue?
The source gets into what we might call the physiology of the spirit here. It states a very profound connection. If the stomach is full, the idea sleeps and the limbs stop worshiping.
The idea sleeps. That's a fascinating phrase. What does that mean?
It means your mental clarity, your spiritual alertness, it just shuts down when your body is diverting all of its energy and resources to digestion. Think about the food coma. When you eat a huge Thanksgiving dinner or that big burger and fries, what happens to you for the next 2 hours?
I become a zombie, a complete zombie. I sit on the couch. I can't focus. I definitely don't want to read philosophy or pray or have a deep conversation. I want to nap.
Exactly. Overeating leads to a physical and spiritual heaviness. It leads to laziness. It makes the heart hard because the body's desires are being prioritized over the soul's needs. The source is saying you cannot be spiritually sharp if you are biologically sedated by food.
So it's really about treating food as fuel, not primarily as entertainment.
Right. And the expert in the lecture quotes a famous piece of advice here. It's often called the rule of thirds.
What's that?
It's prophetic advice on eating. Fill the stomach with 1/3 food, 1/3 drink, and leave 1/3 for breath.
1/3 for breath. Wow. I feel like I usually do 3/3 for tacos and then maybe a negative third for breath. I'm gasping for air after a meal sometimes.
And that's the norm in our culture. We eat until we are stuffed. We eat until it physically hurts. The source is saying, stop before you are full. Always leave the table feeling like you could have had a little more. Keep a little edge of hunger.
And that edge keeps you sharp.
It keeps you sharp. It keeps the beast of the self a little bit tame. A hungry lion is alert. A full lion just sleeps. You want your spirit to be alert.
It's interesting to frame it not as a diet for weight loss, which is how we always talk about hunger and calorie restriction, but as a discipline for mental and spiritual alertness. It's like biohacking for the soul.
It is. It's a deep recognition that the body affects the spirit. You can't separate them. What you eat affects how you think and how you pray.
And the fourth wall is sleeplessness, or as you called it, vigilance. Now, again, medical science tells us we need 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Is this telling us to stay up all week and become insomniacs?
No. Again, it's about balance. This actually pairs with hunger. The source notes that if you eat less, you naturally need slightly less sleep. The heaviness goes away. The goal isn't sleep deprivation to the point of hallucination or damaging your health. It's about fighting the desire to be unconscious.
The desire to just check out, to escape.
Right. It's about fighting the urge to just lie around in comfort, to hit the snooze button 5 times. It's pushing the body to stay awake for a portion of the night to pray or reflect or read when the rest of the world is asleep. There is a special clarity, a special connection that happens in the quiet of the night. The source emphasizes that the seeker is someone who is awake while the heedless are sleeping.
So, to recap the fortress, get alone, solitude, shut your mouth, silence, don't stuff your face, hunger, and don't oversleep, vigilance. It's a full-on lifestyle change.
If you build those 4 walls, you create a protected space where the heart can actually breathe. You're systematically reducing the noise, the distraction, the numbness. And suddenly, in that quiet, empty space, you might just start to see the glimmer of the diamond.
Okay, so we've cleaned the window, we hired a guide, we built this intense 4-walled fortress. Now, what do we actually do inside the fortress? We can't just sit there being hungry and quiet forever. This brings us to the 4th prerequisite, the functions, the daily work.
Right, the actual exercises. The source lists 3 specific functions.
Yeah,
and again, they're very practical psychological strategies. They are 1, opposing desire, or you call it opposing the self. 2, abundant remembrance. 3, and economizing rituals.
Let's start with that first one. Opposing the self. This sounds like a battle, like an internal war.
It is a battle. The central concept here is that the self, the ego, the lower desires, what some traditions call the nafs, is like a spoiled child. It wants what it wants when it wants it. I want that chocolate. I want to sleep in. I want to look at that. I want to buy that. If you always say yes to it, it becomes a tyrant. It gets stronger and stronger until it starts demanding things that will destroy you.
So how do you fight it? Do you just say no to everything and live a life of misery?
The strategy in the source is brilliant. It's very subtle. It advises denying yourself things that are actually permissible.
Wait, things that are allowed. Why would you do that? If it's allowed, what's the harm in having it?
To build muscle. It's spiritual resistance training. Let's look at the logic. Suppose you have the money and the time for a really fancy, delicious meal at a nice restaurant. It's totally allowed. It's not a sin. Yourself sees it and screams, I want that. I deserve that. Let's go.
And I usually say, okay, treat yourself. That's the mantra of our time.
Right. But the strategy here is to say no. Not because the meal is a sin, but to show the self who is boss. You say, no, we're having something simple and healthy today. Or yourself says, I want to sleep in for another hour on Saturday. The alarm goes off. You say, no, get up.
It's like doing reps at the gym.
It's exactly like doing reps at the gym. The logic is this. If you train yourself to accept no on permissible things, like an extra hour of sleep or a fancy cookie or a new gadget you don't really need, then when the self comes to you and asks for something forbidden,
It'll be much easier to say no.
much easier, because the no muscle is strong.
That makes so much sense. If I can't even say no to a cookie when I'm not hungry, how on earth am I going to say no to a major temptation when the stakes are high and my emotions are flared up?
You won't. You'll crumble. You have no muscle.
But if you've been listing heavyweights in the gym of permissible things, then the heavyweight of forbidden things becomes manageable. The source argues that a self-trained this way would eventually find it almost impossible to even suggest a sin. It's too disciplined. It knows who is in charge. It stops asking because it knows the answer is no.
I love that. It turns daily life into a training ground. Every little choice is a rep. You walk past the bakery and smell the bread. That's a rep. You wake up on time. That's a rep. You choose water over soda. That's a rep.
Every choice is a rep. And over time, you build a self that is a compliant servant, not a rebellious tyrant.
Now let's move to the next two functions, because at first glance, there seems to be a contradiction here. The source says abundant remembrance, and then it says economizing rituals. It does sound contradictory, doesn't it? Abundant means a lot, do more. Economizing usually means cutting back or being frugal, so how do you do a lot while also economizing?
Yeah, usually the religious advice we hear is do more, read more, pray more, chant more. The numbers are what matter.
The expert in the source resolves this paradox beautifully. He explains that abundant remembrance refers to the state of the heart. Economizing rituals refers to the physical limbs.
Okay, break that down for me. Heart versus limbs.
The source is all about quality over quantity. It is warning against the trap of overloading yourself with so many physical rituals, chanting a certain phrase thousands of times, doing hundreds of cycles of prayer if your heart is absent, if you're just on autopilot.
Just going through the motions to hit a certain number.
Robotic worship. The hamster wheel of spirituality. You feel productive because you did a lot, but nothing actually changed inside. The source says it is better, far, far better, to have a small amount of action with a high degree of heart presence than a mountain of action with a distracted mind.
So economized means do only as much as you can sustain with full focus and presence.
Exactly. Don't burn out your physical body with rituals if your heart isn't keeping up. The goal is the state of the heart. The limbs are just the vehicle. If the car is driving all over town, but the passenger, the heart isn't even in it, then where are you really going?
You're going nowhere. You're just burning gas. There was some really good illustrative examples of this quality in the text. One was about Abu Hanifa, who was one of the greatest legal minds in history.
Yes, a giant. The source mentions that he would sometimes spend the entire night repeating a single verse of scripture.
Just one verse, all night long. That doesn't sound very productive by modern standards. He didn't finish the book. He didn't even finish the chapter.
He didn't care about finishing the book. He cared about the book finishing him. Why did he stay on one verse all night? Because he couldn't move past the depth of its meaning. He was stuck on it, savoring it, weeping over it, unpacking it layer by layer in his heart.
So he was mining for depth, not covering ground.
To an outsider, it looks like he didn't do much. He only read one verse. But internally, he traveled galaxies. He was having a profound spiritual experience.
That's the difference between the bead and the jewel again, isn't it? Someone else might rattle off the whole book like a string of plastic beads. Look how much I read. But Abu Hanifa saw the diamond in one verse, and he couldn't look away.
Precisely. And the expert cites the prophet himself, who was observed one night repeating a single verse about suffering and mercy. If you punish them, they are your servants. And just weeping, repeating it over and over again until morning. It wasn't about how many pages did I cover. It was how deeply did this one truth pierce my heart.
So the practical advice for the listener here is slow down.
Slow down, way down. When you perform the prayer, for example, don't just rush through the gymnastics to get back to Netflix. Focus on the secrets of the movements. Why are you bowing? What does that posture signify? Why are you prostrating? What is the spiritual reality of putting your head on the floor? Connect the physical action to the spiritual meaning.
So that is abundant remembrance. The heart is full with economized rituals. The body is not being overloaded to the point of distraction.
You got it.
It's profound. It completely shifts the metric of success from how much did I do to where was my heart while I was doing it. It takes the pressure off the quantity and puts all the emphasis on the quality.
And that brings us to the ultimate goal of all of this.
The destination. We've done all the prerequisites. We've cleaned the window. We've found a guide. We've built the fortress of discipline. We're inside, fighting the self and focusing on quality. Where does this road end? What is the prize for all this work?
The expert in the source describes the ultimate discipline. The destination is a state where the heart is found to be with the divine, always.
Always, like 24/7, even when you're driving in rush hour traffic, even when you're doing your laundry or in a boring meeting at work.
Yes. The hands are busy with the world, but the heart is with the Creator. You are in the world, but not of it. You are holding the plastic bead because you have to pay your bills, you have to feed your family, you have to eat, but your eye, your inner eye, is fixed on the diamond.
The source says this state is only possible if the heart is emptied of everything other than the divine. That sounds, honestly, it sounds almost impossible for us normal people. I have a job, I have kids, I have stress about mortgages and politics. How can I possibly empty my heart of everything else?
The source acknowledges that difficulty. It is not presented as an easy task. It warns, this doesn't happen in a day. It doesn't happen in a month or a year. It is a slow, gradual process of riyada, of training, of discipline. It's a lifelong journey.
So it's gradual.
It's gradual. You don't walk into the gym and bench press 300 pounds on day one. Yeah. You start with the empty bar. You struggle, you sweat, you fail some days, but you keep showing up.
But the promise is there. The destination is real.
The promise is powerful. And the expert quotes a verse from Scripture that is really the most comforting part of the whole text.
What is it?
Those who strive for us, we will surely guide them to our ways.
Why is that so comforting?
Because it means the result isn't entirely up to you. Your job is the striving. Your job is to show up, to clean the window, to build a fortress, and to fight the self. The arrival, the opening of the door, the vision of the diamond, that is a gift from the divine.
So it's a partnership.
It's a partnership. You take the first step, and he guides the path. You don't have to force the enlightenment. You just have to do the work. You just have to be sincere in your striving.
That is a comforting thought. We provide the effort, the result is a gift. We just have to keep showing up and trying.
Exactly. Keep dropping the bead over and over again every day.
So let's try to synthesize this whole journey. We started with the child and the bead. We've gone through this whole roadmap.
All right, let's recap the whole thing. 1. First, you have to change your vision. You have to realize that the plastic bead of this world is basically worthless compared to the diamond of the hereafter. You have to understand that necessity only comes from seeing. 2. Second, you clean the window. That's the condition. You have to abandon sin so you can actually see through the veil. 3. Third, you find a guide. That's the anchor. You don't walk the mountain alone. You find a doctor for your heart who knows the way. 4. Fourth, you build a fortress. You use solitude, silence, hunger, and vigilance to protect your heart from all the noise and distraction of the world. 5. And finally, you train the will. You say no to the permissible things to build strength for the forbidden things, and you always focus on quality over quantity.
It's a detox program for the soul.
It really is. In an era of maximum distraction, maximum indulgence, and maximum noise, this ancient advice is more relevant than it's ever been. We are drowning in plastic beads. We are buried under them. This is a call to dig ourselves out, look up, and finally see the jewel that has been waiting there for us the whole time.
I think that's the perfect place to leave it. But before we go, I want to leave the listener with a thought, something for you to chew on today, tomorrow, this week. We talked about the child dropping the bead. My question to you, listening right now, is this. What is the plastic bead you are currently gripping so tight that it's preventing you from even having a free hand to pick up the diamond?
That's the question, isn't it?
Is it a habit? Is it a resentment you won't let go of? Is it a comfort you run to? A specific ambition? A relationship that you know deep down is bad for you? What is your bead, and what would happen if you just opened your hand and let it drop?
Heavy question. But it might be the only one that really matters.
That's what we do here. Thank you for diving deep with us today.
Until next time.
See you then.